there's two big moves before the draft out here that seem very clear. One of them potentially trading for DeAndre Hopkins. We can talk about that a little bit, but the Chiefs are reportedly interested in Odell Beckham Jr. They attended his workout. They have been reported as recently as today as being interested in the former Ram, the former New York Giant. So I'm not sure an Odell Beckham Jr. isn't plan A for this team or just at least a higher priority for this team. Because here's the way I look at it. I think the Chiefs made an offer for Juju Smith-Schuster, right? They made an offer for him. But maybe they made an offer because they had something else in mind at the receiver position too, and they had to make two things work. And maybe that's the line that they set. Because that was such a low offer. Maybe they're very heavily involved in the Odell Beckham Jr. situation, Matthew.
So I think even beyond seeing the Juju Smith-Schuster contract and saying, that's weird the Chiefs didn't match that, it's the fact that last night the Chiefs go out and they go ahead and move over some of Patrick Mahomes' money to where they clear out $12 million in cap space by pushing his contract or adding it to his signing bonus, right? They very clearly cleared space for some reason. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a big move at wide receiver. They needed to clear cap space just so they could actively sign anybody. They couldn't put in really a $2 million contract without making this Mahomes deal, right? They were out of space. So they had to clear it, but they did it last night on a Wednesday when they had until Friday to do it. This wasn't a last second move just to make sure they had a couple extra $1 million laying around to where they could sign, a third phase safety in free agency. I think this was clearly done with some kind of move in mind. So you take that information, you compare that to the Juju Smith-Schuster contract and everything that we heard for the past 2 weeks about how they like this wide receiver room. They want to bring all these same guys back. And you have to really start to wonder whether it was a plan A, plan B thing, or maybe something changed over the past couple weeks. But it seems like there is something else, brewing under the surface, whether it's an Odell Beckham Jr., whether it's a DeAndre Hopkins. They're kind of running out of other free agents that would require real money. I hope it's not an Adam Thielen. I don't think that'll require real money. DJ Chark, maybe Marvin Jones. There's a couple guys out there, but I think if we're talking about clearing money for a reason, it's got to be an Odell or a DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe there's a Brandon Cooks has been rumored to be available for trade for a couple of years now. It feels like it has to be a player that would require substantial money the way this seems to be going. If not, the Chiefs would have just paid Juju or matched close enough to match what the Patriots did. So I think there is another option. They have another plan. It's tough to sit here and watch all these wide receiver free agents go off the board today and then not see the Chiefs do anything.
I do think that speaks volumes, though. And I also think, Maddie, to your point, what changed? Well, what changed? Wide receiver market is not hot. Everybody's making Maddie, I think you alluded to the fact that Darius Slayton might have been the only guy that is above what, Spot Rack and those other, these other groups that have projected these contracts out, that is making above what the projection was. Everybody else is so far below it. It is a very down market. And Jalen Ramsey just got traded for a 3rd round draft pick. DeAndre Hopkins isn't getting that. And Brandon Cooks certainly isn't getting that. It could have been that the Chiefs were legitimately honest about bringing Juju Smith-Schuster back, looking at the rough market of everything and saying, okay, maybe we come in, we pay him $12-13 million. We feel good about that. We feel good about the wide receiver room kind of going forward here. We're not going to spend an asset, especially one that's going to require a high asset. Now you fast forward 2 weeks into this, you see other teams aren't paying wide receivers. You see other players going for picks that, are behind what, Arizona's asking for there. Now you maybe take a step back. You reevaluate the market and you say, okay, do we want to go pursue a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. because it's not going to be $20 million all of a sudden? Do we want to go pursue DeAndre Hopkins because now maybe that draft pick is a 4th rounder instead of, a 2nd rounder? It just kind of has to align. And if the market aligns, it would line up with everything. Not pursuing a Darius Slayton, not trying to keep Juju Smith-Schuster. Some of these moves that just seemed very Veachian were not happening. So it does make me think that there's something there. It also, in addition to an Odell, D-Hop, whoever, it also doesn't preclude them from drafting a wide receiver high. I think everybody kind of looks at this and says, oh, well, if they add a guy in free agency, they're not drafting a wide receiver high. I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, I don't think that they've got anybody locked in long term. They can move on from MVS easily next year. This still doesn't mean that a guy falls to them at pick 31 that they don't take him there too.
Well, I think that alludes to everything is okay. I promise this is all going to come back full circle, but
okay.
I think, we'll
no, I'm here.
It's
I'm
a journey.
What the Chiefs had 3 clear needs when free agency started, I think, by all indications: tackle, edge, wide receiver. They got the first 2 done quick. They were very quick to get them taken care of. And so, there's a piece of this that we don't know. There's something we don't know and we aren't privy to on the outside looking in that is reality. And the reality could be that they're very well positioned for Odell Beckham Jr. It could be that they are well positioned to acquire DeAndre Hopkins in a trade. It could be, to Craig's point, that the market might be sitting pretty for them at in the draft. They believe that one of the 4 or 5 top receivers that they really like is going to be available to them at 31. It's been long enough. I can say this. The Chiefs were pretty confident George Karlaftis was going to fall to them last year.
Correct.
And he did. They had a good beat on the draft last year. They had a good feel that George Karlaftis was going to be available to them at the end of the first round last year. So the piece of this puzzle could be that they're going to go, they're going to go draft a receiver they really like. Maybe, maybe they like
counterpoint.
Okay.
Andy Reid and rookie wide receivers.
That's a fair point.
How are you going to sit here and be like, oh, we lost the most reliable wide receiver we have. Let's replace him with a rookie when they really do struggle to see the field or to have a consistent role in this offense, right? Like, I think veterans have proven they can come into this offense and click pretty quickly. Like the guys that have been around the league that can pick up stuff fast. Rookies, we have seen numerous times now. There's been a little bit of a transitional period, or they get stuck in a very specific role and they say, hey, go do that role. And it's usually not a real wide receiver role. It's run to space or take some jet sweeps, right? So, like,
I running back snaps last preseason.
Right. Well, but I mean, even going back to McCole Hardman or Tyreek Hill, like these guys all kind of went through the same role. I mean, McCole got pushed into a real role with a Hill injury, but that's besides like the point. So I don't know if you can rely on a rookie wide receiver coming in and replacing not the role that Juju had, but just the consistency, the reliability that he was going to have in that spot, because that's what they're missing now. Kadarius Toney can't play more than 3 games without being hurt. MVS disappears in 2 out of every 3 games he plays. Sky Moore couldn't get on the field last year. Justin Ross, who's probably their 4th wide receiver, is a big wide receiver with a busted up foot and a fused neck. Where's the reliability in that group?
Yeah, can I add to that something too? It's like, look what the Chiefs almost lost. Our Chiefs lost Super Bowl because their offensive line fell apart. The Chiefs were holding on for dear life at receiver with Mahomes on a bum ankle against the Cincinnati Bengals 2 months ago. So it's like, you've got, like, if you want to talk about a preemptive aggressive correction, it's like, why aren't they looking to add more reliability to that position? I'm sorry, continue, Matthew.
No. And I think that's completely fine. Like, I don't think this is the Chiefs need to freak out and go get the best wide receiver group in the NFL. I just think you need to have, this team needs one more other person that can be relied on. Right now, it's just Travis Kelce. He's talked time and time again now about how hard the playing football is on his body now, how much recovery he has to do, how beat up he feels. I'm not saying that it's the end, but it would really be nice to start to let that guy, I don't know, get to play 30-year-old plus tight end snaps and not have to play and be everything for this receiving group, right? So I think they really do need to look into a reliable option. Now, I say rookies might not come in and make a big role. Jackson Smith and Jigba, if he's there and they draft him, I feel pretty confident you can put him out there early on because he's a very technical, very smart player. But if he's not there and you're relying on a Quentin Johnston, who's my personal wide receiver 1 in this class, I don't know what he's going to do first in his first year in Andy Reid's offense besides catch jet sweeps and run the occasional go route. And that's not the reliability that they're missing. This is why I feel so strong that I think they have to sign somebody. If like Kent said, they have a good read on the draft and they know someone's going to be there, they like it into round one, that's fine. Still go sign Marvin Jones. Still go sign Odell Beckham Jr. There's nothing that says you can't do both of those things if that's your plan of attack. The Brett Veach and the Chiefs don't like to go into a draft needing to do something. And I feel like if they don't make a relatively significant move at wide receiver, they have to try to draft one in round one because you need somebody. This room needs someone. They have not a single reliable player right now to catch passes outside of Travis Kelce.
Yeah. And I know people are going to look at that and be like, oh, how's that different from last year? How does that change? It's a lot different. I mean, they were banking on Juju Smith-Schuster's health. They obviously didn't want to pay after they spent a season with Juju Smith-Schuster's health. They were banking on MVS growing as a player from what he did in Green Bay. They're a year into that now. Now, those both were very good players. Don't get me wrong, but they're not a wide receiver one type. And if we know anything about what Veach has done, they tried to pay Tyreek Hill again when they couldn't get it done. They traded him. And what did they try and do? Sign A.J. Brown. Tried to trade for him for one of the final two teams. This is one of those scenarios where they are always going to look for another stud guy that can beat man coverage and be a legitimate threat no matter where he lines up, wherever it is on the field. Now, that's very easy for me to just say, yeah, go get one of those guys. They don't grow on trees. Right now, the ones that are available appear to be older. And that also goes a little bit against what Brett Veach typically does. So I do think that there's going to be something that's going to give there. Either it's going to be a 1-year deal for Adam Thielen, or it's going to be a 1-year deal for probably not Jarvis Landry, but a guy of that ilk that they're hoping they can just wring just that last little bit out of that player and go draft a Quentin Johnston and go draft a Jordan Addison and just try and hope that guy is going to be ready year 2. And then you've got Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, rookie wide receiver, and you're hoping that those three can take over after that. That also doesn't necessarily align with what Brett Veach wants to do when he is trying to fill positions of need. He tries to go out there and make bigger splash moves. Now, remember that MVS and Juju Smith-Schuster were both on this team when Brett Veach tried to trade for A.J. Brown last year. They were looking to load up. So I know there's going to be this conversation about, oh, he got it done. Maybe they're going to try it again because they know that he can win without having, the best of wide receivers. They were trying to stack that wide receiver room still. I still do believe that they're going to try and stack it.
Thanks for watching this production of KC Sports Network, the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. Check out these videos that feature our team of more than 15 former players, insiders, and analysts bringing you the best Chiefs coverage you can find. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.